So here's a question. What's the difference between an iPad that costs $350 and one that costs $2,600? The one that's like 9 times more expensive should be 9 times better, right? Well,
yes, of course it is.
Apple just announced some all-new iPads that are finally releasing this week, and if you're thinking about picking one up in 2025, there's 2 things you should know. One, now's a really good time to buy an iPad, but also, which one should you buy? Because some are a much better value than others. Let me make this super simple, break down like this stuff that you actually need to know about, not get buried in the spec sheet, and help you decide which iPad is best for you in 2025. But first, I want to give a big thanks to ESR for sponsoring this video, and also a quick word from Mr. Steve himself.
And the question has arisen lately, is there room for a third category of device in the middle? Something that's between a laptop and a smartphone.
The iPad has certainly come a long way from its original debut back in 2010. Remember, the original criticisms around this thing were all about it just being a big iPhone, or back then it was just a big iPod Touch. There wasn't a whole lot it could do. But as the sort of downfall came to netbooks and cheap Windows laptops, the iPad sort of rose from their ashes and became a super successful device that, while it does sort of have a bit of an identity crisis these days, still can do a lot, and there's a lot of options at a lot of different prices that can do many, many things. So let me just sort of set the stage with the basics. We've got an iPad lineup that starts with the 11th gen iPad. This is all new. It's $350 and is the least expensive iPad you can buy. From there, the smaller iPad, the iPad mini, is actually more expensive, coming in at $499. From there, you go up to the iPad Air, comes in 2 different sizes, starts at $599, and then the oh-so-illustrious iPad Pro also comes in 2 sizes and starts at $999. If you're just looking to watch Netflix and maybe do some doodling and chat with your friends on FaceTime and iMessage, any of these iPads is gonna be great for that. Even the base $350 iPad is going to be just fine. Don't feel pressured like I did to go with an iPad Pro and spend more money just to watch YouTube at the gym, and I'm talking directly to myself. But if you do have more of a preference on things you wanna do, you really care about screen quality, you're gonna be watching a ton of movies, or you really wanna create with this thing, then the differences are gonna matter a little bit more. So let's start with really the biggest difference maker between all these devices. What you're really paying for is going to be the screen quality. The base iPad, iPad mini, and iPad Air are all very similar in terms of screen sizes and screen options. Obviously, if you're someone who really values portability above anything and everything else, you're gonna love the iPad mini. And the iPad mini is one of those things that has its quirks, but the lovers of it really do love it, and they will stick by it. So if you were a fan of like the 12 mini and 13 mini and you just like that sort of thing, you're gonna love the iPad mini. The base iPad, it doesn't have a laminated display, so there is gonna be a gap between the glass and the actual display, which some people really are bothered by, but by and large, it's a totally fine experience, good colors, great for watching movies, playing games, it's going to be just fine. And then it's a similar story for the iPad Air. This does have a laminated display and also does come in 2 sizes, the 11-inch size, which is exactly like the base iPad, and then a larger 13-inch size if you want just a bigger iPad experience. I think if you were to put all these screens side by side, you would notice a difference between the base iPad and the mini and the Air, but individually on their own, they're going to be just fine. But there is a totally different story with the iPad Pro. While it does come in the similar 2-size lineup, 11 and 13 inches like the Air, the screen is just significantly better. That's because Apple is using OLED technology on these devices, and the screen quality is just chef's kiss, to use that expression. I mean, just like an OLED TV, you're getting super inky blacks, you're getting really vibrant colors, you're getting a pixel per pixel level of control over this thing, and the content you watch on this is just going to look amazing. One of the other nice things about iPad Pro is it's got ProMotion, so that's 120 Hertz, which just makes the thing feel faster. If you're someone who notices that difference between a Pro iPhone and a regular iPhone, that might be reason enough for you to spend the extra money on iPad Pro. And this is also currently the only iPad that does come in a nano texture option. So if you're someone who really wants to eliminate any kind of glare with outside sunlight or inside interior lighting, this is going to be a nice way to go for a little bit of an extra charge. Besides that, all of the other characteristics here across the lineup are pretty much the same. Really, the only difference I should mention is that the base iPad is only going to support the older Apple Pencil and sort of the basic Apple Pencil, while every other model is going to support the fancier stuff with Apple Pencil Pro. So if you're just doing like note-taking and illustrations and things, and you just want to play around with an Apple Pencil, this is probably just fine and not something to think about or give a second thought. But if you're someone who's going to be using this professionally, or you really want to have all the control an Apple Pencil Pro would give you, you're gonna need at least an iPad mini or an iPad Air or Pro, because the base model just doesn't simply support it. And regardless of which iPad model you decide to pick up this year, you wanna make sure you're getting the best experience, the most out of the iPad you spent your hard-earned money on. The best way to get the most out of your iPad is by picking up some amazing accessories from my friends over at ESR. They've got you covered with everything you need. To tell you the truth, I've been a little obsessed with the Rebound magnetic keyboard case lately. Not only does it have a detachable back cover, but it's got everything you would want. It's got these super strong magnets that could literally stick this thing to a refrigerator with the iPad inside. It's got a clicky, comfortable tactile keyboard with backlighting that is a dream to type on, a large multifunctional trackpad that supports all your favorite gestures, and just for me, my favorite way to use the iPad if I want to do anything beyond just watching movies is really sort of sitting down with a keyboard and trackpad experience to really get work done, and this makes that really perfect. But I know some of you aren't a fan of keyboard cases, and if that's you, that's totally okay, because this is the case you're gonna want, the Flip magnetic case. Not only is it gonna do a great job of protecting your iPad, there's a nice cover on here, so when the screen is not being used, it's sort of safe and secure. There's a built-in Apple Pencil holder, so that thing never goes missing. But what I love about this is whether you're in portrait mode or landscape mode, there is a perfect way to not only hold the iPad up, but also get it at the perfect angle, especially if you're watching movies on this thing, you're doing some note-taking, you don't want to have it sort of flat on the table, you want to have it at an angle so it's most comfortable, and this allows you to easily click it in as sort of these little slots here, and you are good to go. And then finally, let me just tell you this. This is one accessory every iPad owner, really every iPhone owner needs to pick up, and that is an ESR screen protector. What I love about this is, just like the iPhone, they make installing an iPad screen protector literally as simple as like a 30-second process. You put the iPad into this case, you'll close the cover, apply some force with your hand, pull this tab, and then bam, you've got a dust-free, bubble-free screen protector installed that's ready to go. It's 2 times stronger than other screen protectors, and it literally is like the easiest thing ever. So if you want to learn more, pick up some amazing ESR gear for your iPad today. I have the link right down below. Click that link and check it out now. The other big difference that really separates all the different iPad models is going to be the processor inside. Now, I really don't want to get into this because I feel like on the Mac, it's way more of a constructive conversation to talk about, M3 Ultra versus M4 Pro and so on and so forth. With the iPad, most people are buying this with the intention of, I think, either using it to like watch movies and play games and use it like a bigger iPhone, or you're using it to create content. And all of these will do that really, really well, with just 2 exceptions you should keep in mind. One, for the 2 of you out there who really care about Apple Intelligence, the base iPad has no support for Apple Intelligence. So just keep that in mind, that if you want any Apple Intelligence features, I'm sure there's a jailbreak for it, but officially you're gonna have to go with an iPad mini, an Air, or a Pro. And then the other thing I would just have you consider is really what your use case is gonna be now and maybe in the future. Because if you do plan to really create on this thing, like you really wanna utilize the pro Apple apps like Final Cut and Logic, and you really wanna be able to utilize all of the software features that iPadOS has to offer, then it might just make more sense to invest in one of the higher end M series chips rather than going with a mini or a base one that just has the older A series chips. And again, just to break this down simply, iPad 11th gen and iPad mini have an A16 and A17 chip in there respectively, where the iPad Air is gonna give you the M3 chip and the iPad Pro is gonna give you sort of the latest M4 chip. I don't think there's a huge difference right now between M3 and M4, but if you do, again, wanna utilize those Pro features and Pro apps, you're gonna wanna be on the M family of chips for your iPad model. But besides that, the screen and the processor inside, there are like some small spec sheet differences between the models, but basically they're all pretty much going to be the same. The iPad Pro is gonna have a better speaker experience, and it is the only model besides ProMotion that also has Face ID, so if you care about that and you don't like Touch ID, there's a reason to go with that one. And I also will mention that all of the iPads except the Mini do have an official keyboard case, Magic Keyboard Folio sort of thing from Apple directly. The Mini does not, all the other options do. And then besides, like, you know, faster Wi-Fi chips, everything else is basically the same. They all come in different colors. They all can be configured as cellular if you want to go that route. Yeah, so with all that in mind, which iPad should you buy? Okay, I'm gonna try to make this really, really simple in like 60 seconds. If you care about small screens above all else, and you know who you are if you do, go with the iPad mini, enjoy the super portable iPad, and you're done, good to go. If you care about having the best screen on an iPad, like you watch a ton of movies and shows on this thing, you wanna create in Final Cut, you're gonna be the next illustrator with graphic novels or whatever, then go with the iPad Pro, because you're gonna get the most the iPad has to offer and the best experience with that. And yes, you can configure it up to $2,600. And that sort of only leaves us with two other options, base iPad or iPad Air. And with a $250 difference between these two, the question I get all the time is it worth spending $250 to go from a base iPad to an iPad Air? If you want a bigger screen, like the 13-inch model, then that'll answer that question for you. Go with the iPad Air because you can't get that with the base iPad. But if you're just looking at an 11-inch model, what does that $250 really get you? Well, it gets you the jump from an A series chip to an M series chip, so it is more powerful and can do more things. It is going to get you Apple Intelligence support. It is gonna get you support for an Apple Pencil Pro. It's gonna have a laminated display. It's gonna have support for faster Wi-Fi speeds. And generally, I think, offer a little bit more of a premium look and feel and experience over the base iPad. I would say that it is worth it if you intend to keep this thing for a long, long time, or if you believe that maybe in the next year or so, or I guess really any time, you might want to jump in to do some more creating. Because again, that M series chip is not only going to give you a little bit more headroom when it comes to iPadOS updates and app support and things like that, but is going to let you have access to Pro apps you wouldn't otherwise be able to have access to on that base iPad. But again, if you're just watching Netflix and chatting with friends, base iPad for $350 is a very, very good deal and has got a whole lot of stuff to offer for that price. And I think you're gonna be very, very happy, really, no matter what iPad you decide to pick up. All right, guys, so now it's your turn. What are your thoughts on the iPad lineup in 2025? What iPad do you have? Which one would you like to get? I still have a broken iPad Pro from 2020 that's got like a cracked screen, but it's still working just fine. I still take it to the gym and watch YouTube on it. I just think it goes to show that as a lot of us will upgrade our iPhones like every other year or 2 to 3 years, whatever the case may be, every year if you're like me, and you're an Apple sucker, the iPad is sort of a different beast where there's a lot longer lifespan on them and you don't feel compelled to upgrade every generation. Now again, with that said, if you're looking to jump in for the first time or if you're looking to upgrade, now is a good time to do that because we just got some new models and some new stuff. So again, drop a comment down below, let me know your thoughts on this. Thanks guys so much for watching. I appreciate you all. I'm Robert Rosenfeld and I'll see ya in the next one.